We are here for episode 1 of the Layer 1 Lounge, AOI's podcast series, and I'm joined by Steffan Murray, who is AOI's CFO and Chief Strategy Officer. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Pam.
We're here at OFC 2026 in LA, so we're going to catch up on just how things are going with the company and the direction and the expansion, and just get your reflection on the show and some of the customer meetings and how things are going.
Sure. Well, again, I appreciate you having me. It's been a whirlwind of a show, as OFC always is for us. I think this is my 27th OFC that I've been to, and certainly there's been some more robust times and less robust times throughout all those years, but this is definitely one of the most exciting and opportune times for the Optical Fiber Communications Conference, because the types of technologies that not only AOI but this industry are enabling are really critical to the growth of artificial intelligence applications. And so all of the excitement that we see in the public domain about AI, about data centers, and the opportunities that this technology presents to help us accelerate innovation in society, we're a key part of that as an industry. And AOI is one of the leaders in optical components specifically for data centers. So it's a really exciting time for AOI. It's a really exciting time for the industry, and I think that's reflected in the show today.
Right, and to that point, you're not new to this scene. The company is almost 30 years old. And so do you feel, with all the change, even in the last month, the performance of the company and the stock, do you feel that you're finally getting the attention you deserve?
Well, I think, look, when you have the right suite of technologies that are needed to solve customer problems, then that has a way of attracting customers. It has a way of attracting attention, because people need solutions for these problems. The challenge of transporting the massive amounts of data that need to be transported and manipulated for these large language models and the other things that are used in the AI networks, it's a big challenge. It's a big technical challenge. And so companies that have the right suite of products to help solve those problems are going to be in demand. And AOI happens to be one of those companies. As you mentioned, we've got an almost 30-year history of innovation. We were the first company to develop purpose-built optical transceivers for the data center more than 13 years ago. We've continued to be innovative and leaders in this technology since then, and that technology now just happens to be at the forefront of interconnectivity for these large data centers. And it's, again, an exciting time. Are we getting the recognition that we deserve? I think we've always been a leader. I think our customers have always known us very well as a technical leader, and maybe that message is getting out a little bit more broadly now. But I think that's more a reflection of the attention that's being paid to AI than anything that's specific to AOI at this point.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the differentiators and what stands out for AOI versus competitors. We've talked a little bit about, what we do differently, but maybe you can talk through some of those things.
Sure. I think there's two main areas where AOI has differentiated technology and product portfolio. One of those has to do with the fact that our heritage of our company is really in the manufacturing of laser diodes. Laser diodes are one of the key components that are used in all fiber optic networks, all fiber optic communication networks anyway. And particularly for large data centers, those devices are really necessary to make the transceivers that route the data within the data center. So the fact that we have our internal production capacity for those key devices is something that I think is rare in this business. There are a couple of other competitors that we have that do have their own wafer fabrication, but it's not a very common business model because it requires a suite of technical expertise that itself is not very common. It takes a long time and a lot of really smart people to develop this technology. So that's been part of AOI since the beginning, and that heritage, I think, serves us well and differentiates us from many of our competitors today. The other area that we've invested extensively over the last 10 or 11 years is in automation for the production of optical transceivers. And today that's relevant because it not only allows us to scale up the production more reliably without suffering yield hits and other things that you might have if you're trying to scale a more manual process. It also allows us to onshore production back to the U.S. Or really anywhere in the world that makes sense to do production relatively easily, because we're not relying on having to train a massive workforce in whatever location we decide to go into. We need workers, but those workers are a much smaller number than might have been needed a few years ago. And so those two aspects of our business, our in-house wafer fabrication and our automation capabilities for the production of optical transceivers are really what differentiate us.
All right, so let's touch on that a little bit. So you make your own chips and they go into AOI products. Do you ever feel or see that you will sell the chips separately? Do customers ask for that?
We've done that in certain instances in the past. It's not something that we categorically would never do. Right now, the problem that we're facing, and it's a good problem, is that we just don't have enough capacity even for the demand that we see for our own devices. So would we sell, in some sense, excess devices at some point in the future? Sure, possibly. We would consider it. But at the moment, we don't have a lot of excess. I mean, we're using every device that we can manufacture in our own transceivers, and that's likely to be the case for the foreseeable future. But as we expand, opportunities might present themselves. We'll see.
So as far as the expansion in Texas, do you see that as a big advantage with customers who are looking to have backup on their supply? Like having it here in the U.S. is just a big differentiator for you?
Yeah, being in the U.S., Texas is a great place to do business. It's been our home ever since the company started 29 years ago. We love it there, and the business environment there is very friendly for what we're trying to do. So Texas is great. U.S. production is very important to our customers because it's perceived, and I think rightfully so, to be a more reliable and secure supply chain compared to overseas production. It doesn't mean that they necessarily want to have all of their production done in the United States, but having the United States production is part of their mix in terms of their supply chain helps them to de-risk that supply chain in a way that makes them more secure and more able to commit to their customers that they're going to have those data centers built when they need them.
So in the world of AI today, you make what you make, and you have a broadband business unit, make amplifiers and other technology to support cable operators. Do you see opportunity to expand the portfolio more now?
We're always looking for new ideas. If there's anything that hasn't changed in my history in this industry, it's that innovation is always getting more rapid, more dynamic, more new ideas are needed. That's what this industry is all about, both the broadband business as well as the data center business. So we need the ability to innovate more quickly. We're always looking for new product categories to go into. You mentioned laser chips earlier. That could be an area. But just keeping up with the pace of technology that's needed for example, for our data center customers is already a pretty big challenge. There's a lot of new ideas on how to architect data centers, how to interconnect network elements within the data centers to save power, to save cost, to make them more efficient. All of those things are things that we're looking at in areas that undoubtedly will have significant innovation over the next few years.
So you cater to hyperscale customers. Do you see that changing? Do you see a different breed of customers coming your way?
We have a wide variety of different customers within our data center segment. We talk a lot about the hyperscale customers, but we do have a number of other smaller enterprise or smaller scale data center customers. We like all of those customers, and they're all going to be a piece of our business. The hyperscalers right now are the ones that are most actively deploying massive quantities of optics, and so naturally they're going to be the ones that we gravitate towards, or they gravitate towards us. But in principle, a lot of the hyperscale data center technology eventually finds use in other customer use cases as well. And, as that happens, we certainly intend to serve those customers just as we serve the hyperscalers.
What about geographically? So you serve customers in over 30 countries right now. Do you see demand spiking in any particular area, or do you see opportunity in Europe where we may not be so heavily focused?
Yeah, I mean, there are some data centers being built in Europe, and we do have customers in Europe. The U.S. is likely to be, the leader, I think, in data center technology. At least it seems to be the direction of the United States government, making sure that we're one of the leaders in AI and data centers. And so I think very likely we're going to continue to see most of our business coming from the U.S. But we're always looking for opportunities for expansion globally. And as you mentioned, we've been a global company really since very early in our company's history. So, where the opportunities present themselves, we'll certainly create the infrastructure necessary to meet those demands.
So here at OFC, meeting with customers and potential partners, how do you look at the opportunity with partnering for the future in this area?
No successful company can be successful completely on their own, you know. So we're always looking for opportunities to partner with the right kinds of companies, and certainly, you know, what our data center customers tell us is ideally they'd like to have an ecosystem. And in our case, they'd like that ecosystem to be as much located in the U.S. as possible. So we're working with a number of different partners and potential partners to see how, you know, as we onshore more of our production, how can we get our vendors to onshore some of their production so that we've got a supply chain that's, you know, vertically integrated and largely based in the U.S.
Cool. Is there anything that surprised you this year with either partnership discussions, customer discussions, things that you've seen swirling up in the session agendas? Is there something that took you by surprise? Or
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think I came into the show believing that the demand for optics in the data center was very strong. And I think at the show, I've come to understand after some meetings that the demand is possibly even stronger than what I thought. So that's a good surprise, of course, but it presents a big challenge for us and for the industry as we try to scale up. So we're very focused on ensuring that our supply chain, manufacturing capacity, quality and reliability systems, sales, field support, all of those functions that are necessary to rapidly scale up to help meet that demand are all lined up. And that's going to be the challenge as we exit the show and get back to work making all that happen.
you feel you're ready?
We're ready.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's great to catch up with you. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
And
Thank you for having me.
thanks for listening.